I never thought Sunday dinner would end with my own son calling me a loser. "You're a loser, Mom." But Linda, Dad's wife, she's the real mother I never had. The words didn't echo. They stabbed clean, sharp, quiet. He slammed his fork on the table and leaned back like he'd just announced the weather. I didn't hear the gasp from Anna, my daughter. I didn't feel the roasted chicken growing cold in front of me. All I could see was Michael, my son, my only son, the baby I held after 16 hours of labor, through colic and broken bones, and a divorce that nearly destroyed me. Now he sat across the table, sneering at me like I was a burden he couldn't wait to shake off. "Michael," Anna said, her voice tight and rising. "How dare you?" He just smirked, chewed his food like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just spat on everything I'd sacrificed for. I looked at the faces around that table, my grandkids frozen, eyes big, scared. Linda, the new wife of my ex-husband, smiled smugly from the end of the table, dabbing her mouth with the linen napkin I paid for. "You always ruin everything," Michael muttered. "God, we invite you to dinner and it turns into a pity party." No one moved. No one spoke. Just the slow clank of silverware and Linda's perfectly practiced sigh. And I sat there frozen in the chair I used to rock him to sleep in, wondering when exactly my love for him had turned into entitlement in his mind. He wasn't always like this, but maybe he was. I looked at him, not as a mother looks at her child, but the way you might look at a stranger who just shoved you off a cliff and walked away without looking back. He didn't even flinch. Something died at that dinner table. But it wasn't me, not this time. I was still trying to understand what the hell had just happened. What kind of son calls his own mother a loser? Not just in private, not in anger. At Sunday dinner with the children watching, with my daughter beside me, with Linda right there practically glowing from the praise. "You don't understand," Michael said to Anna, like she was interrupting. "You think she's some saint? You don't know what it was like growing up with her after Dad left." I turned my eyes to him slowly, not because I was trying to intimidate him. No, I just wanted to see his face while he tore me apart. He didn't flinch, just kept eating, chewing like this was just a normal conversation, as if I wasn't sitting there with my dignity bleeding out under the table. "You should leave," Anna said, her voice shaking. "If you're going to talk to our mother like that, just leave," Michael chuckled. "Wow, of course you take her side. You always do. That's why Dad left in the first place. She turns everyone against each other." Linda raised her glass. "Enough. Let's not ruin dinner." But it was already ruined because something inside me had snapped, and I wasn't sure I could glue it back. I pushed my plate forward and gently stood up slowly. My knees popped, a reminder of the years I carried too much weight. Groceries, kids, disappointment. Nobody stopped me, not even Michael. That silence said everything. I couldn't sleep that night. I just lay there staring at the ceiling fan, spinning slow and useless above me, thinking about the boy I used to know. The one who cried when his pet turtle died. The one who held my hand at the dentist even when he was 9 to make me feel better. The boy who used to sing off-key in the back seat on long drives. And then I thought about the Camry, that damn car. 3 years ago, he'd lost everything. I cost him his license. He'd been fired from his sales job, the 3rd one that year. His apartment was gone, his savings drained. Linda and my ex-husband had just returned from a river cruise in Europe. No signal, Michael claimed. When I asked if they'd called him back, I remember standing in that dealership with him. He looked like a broken man. Hair unwashed, eyes hollow, voice too small for 32. "Mom," he whispered, clutching the papers like they might disintegrate. "You're saving me." I dipped into my retirement account and paid cash. The dealer handed him the keys and he broke down right there. He hugged me so hard I could feel his ribs pressing through his cheap jacket. That moment, God help me, I thought I was getting my son back. I even took a picture. He was leaning against the hood of the car, smiling like a boy who believed again. I saved that photo in my phone under the favorites tab. But the man at dinner tonight wasn't that boy. That boy died somewhere along the way, replaced by someone meaner, someone entitled. And I let it happen. Every rescue I gave him, rent money, groceries, legal fees, just taught him I'd always be there, arms open, checkbook ready. He didn't love me, he used me. That realization sat on my chest like a boulder. And suddenly, I knew something for certain. I wasn't going to be the safety net anymore. He didn't say goodbye when he left that night. Michael shoved back from the table, muttered something under his breath about not needing this drama, and stormed out the front door like a spoiled teenager. He's 35. I watched from the kitchen window as he marched down the walkway, fumbling with his phone, probably texting Linda, probably reporting every word like some loyal little soldier. The porch light caught his face just long enough for me to see the scowl still etched across it. No guilt, no pause, just anger, like I had embarrassed him. He climbed into that Camry I'd paid for, tires screeching as he reversed too fast out of my driveway, and it was right then, hand still resting on the faucet, that something in me turned, not broke, hardened. I stood there surrounded by dishes and silence, and I felt the switch flip. The mother in me, the fixer, the forgiver. She sat down quietly and let someone else take the wheel. A woman who'd had enough. Anna came into the kitchen, her face pale and furious. "Mom, are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said. And I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I was fine. Not because things were okay, but because I finally saw them clearly. "I'm so sorry he said that." I touched her hand. He meant it. She looked startled, but I just smiled dry and small. It's easier somehow when you stop pretending your child is someone they're not. Anna looked like she wanted to argue, to say something hopeful, but she knew. She'd seen the shift too. "I'm going to clean up," I said. She nodded, but before she left the room, she hesitated. "You don't deserve this, Mom." "No," I said, "I don't." When I went to bed that night, I didn't cry. I didn't pray for understanding. I didn't reach for old photo albums. I slept, not well, but with a sense of finality. Tomorrow, I was going to start taking things back. At dawn, I brewed a cup of strong coffee, black, no cream, no sugar, no softness. The sky outside was still gray when I grabbed the folder from my desk drawer. I'd been keeping it for years, a quiet record of every bill I'd paid, every mortgage statement, every receipt for the repairs I covered, just until he gets on his feet. My name on the deed, my name on the utilities, my money behind the roof over his head. They always said motherhood was sacrifice. They never said it would be theft. I drove across town with the windows cracked, letting in the early fall air, not cold, crisp, a reminder that some things need to die before they can come back. His house, my house, came into view, small, decent little ranch style on Sycamore Street. I remembered the day we first walked through it. He was so excited, said it was going to be the place he finally turned things around. I parked at the curb, didn't rush, didn't tremble. When I knocked, it took him a full minute to open the door. His hair was a mess, shirt wrinkled, face puffy from last night's tantrum. "Mom, what are you?" "Keys." I held out my hand. His eyes blinked rapidly, still catching up. "What?" I stepped forward, calm and sure. "Keys to the house. Keys to the car." He scoffed, then laughed like I just suggested we go to Disneyland. "You're not serious." I didn't move. I didn't explain. "Mom, what the hell is this? You gave me this house. You gave me the car." "No," I said, pulling a folder from my bag. I opened it like a book of truth. "I paid for them. They're in my name. And now I'm done pretending." He glanced out toward the street. 2 neighbors were out front, one with a dog, the other adjusting sprinklers, both pretending not to watch. "Jesus Christ, this is insane," he hissed, stepping outside and pulling the door shut behind him. "You can't just show up." "And I can," I said, "and I am." I held out my hand again. He followed me down the driveway barefoot, shouting, "You gave me that car. You can't just take it back." His voice cracked, too loud for 7:30 in the morning. Curtains twitched across the street. Sprinklers hissed and pulsed like applause. I turned slowly. The keys were already in my hand. The Camry sat there in the driveway, still dusty from the drive he didn't deserve. "You remember the day I bought it?" I asked, my voice even. "You told me I was saving you." "That's not the point," he snapped, stepping closer. "It was a gift, Mom. You can't ungift things because you're mad." I pulled out the registration from my folder, crisp, highlighted, filed with the same careful hand that wiped his fevered forehead when he was 7. "Registered to Evelyn Jameson." I read aloud. "That's me, not you." He glanced toward the woman walking her golden retriever across the street. She stopped pretending to be on her phone. "Christ, Mom, this is pathetic." "No," I said. "What's pathetic is a 35-year-old man screaming in his driveway because his mother won't keep paying for his failures." His face went red. Not embarrassed, furious. The kind of fury that comes when someone finally cuts the cord you've been yanking on your whole life. "You're making a scene," he growled. I stepped toward the car, opened the door, and tossed the registration onto the passenger seat. "I've paid the insurance, the maintenance, the fuel. You didn't even change the oil." "I was going to." "You were always going to," I said, "just like you were always going to pay me back or fix your life or grow up." That one landed. I saw it. He blinked like someone had smacked him. And for the first time in years, he had no clever comeback, just silence. That silence was beautiful. I sat in the driver's seat, adjusted the mirror. He tried one more thing. "The last card in the deck. Linda says you're losing it," he muttered. "Says you need help. That this obsession with control—" I shut the door and rolled the window down. "You can go live with Linda then. Let her help you. Let her buy your cars and pay your rent and bail you out when you screw up again." The engine started with a purr. Smooth, reliable, unlike the man standing in the rearview mirror. I reversed slowly, watching him shrink in my side mirror. I didn't even look back when I pulled away. The bank was quiet that morning, cool air, the scent of paper and printer ink. I walked in holding the same leather folder, edges worn, corners bent from years of being shoved into drawers. Laura at the front desk blinked in surprise when she saw me. "Evelyn, I thought you were just paying online these days." "Not today," I smiled, calm, steady. Today wasn't about paying anything. It was about ending something. 10 minutes later, I sat across from a woman named Clara. Young, polite, gold wedding band, so shiny it still looked new. She looked through the documents I handed her. "This is the mortgage tied to 214 Sycamore, correct?" "Yes," I said. "You'd like to cancel your auto payments?" "No, I'd like to cancel the mortgage entirely. Remove myself from liability. End my involvement." She blinked again. That threw her. "I'm afraid that's not something we can just cancel. You're a co-signer, not just a payer." I leaned forward slightly. "I understand. That's why I brought this." I slid over a copy of the legal revocation of financial support drafted last night, notarized at 8:06 this morning. The ink was barely dry. I'll no longer be paying on behalf of the resident. He's had 5 years of support, and as of today, he can handle the responsibility himself. Clara's eyes scanned the document. "Okay," she said cautiously. "This will trigger formal notification. The resident will receive notice of payment responsibility shift. If no payments are made within 60 days, the house goes into default." "Yes, I understand." She paused. "There's also a record of you covering escrow shortages the last 3 years. And not one thank you card." I smiled, bitter, tired, done. She didn't laugh, just nodded. Understood. Then came the moment I had waited for. She clicked a few keys, opened the payment screen, and hovered her mouse over a red button marked Cancel Automatic Payments. "Are you sure?" I nodded, "I'm very sure." Her mouse clicked, one sharp sound. Then the screen changed. Status canceled. She stamped the physical notice with thick red ink, the kind you feel in your spine. I picked up the paper, folded it slowly, and slid it back into my folder. "Thank you, Clara," I said, standing. She watched me with something like admiration. Or maybe warning. "Just be prepared," she said. "People get angry when they lose their safety nets." I turned back and smiled. He should have thought of that before cutting the rope. My phone buzzed before I even made it out of the parking lot. Michael. I let it ring until the final vibration, then let it buzz again and again. By the 4th call, I answered, "Mom." His voice was already shaking with fury. "What the hell did you do?" "I just got an alert saying the autopay failed." "What's going on?" "I stopped paying," I said simply. "You live there. You pay for it." His voice rose like a siren. "You can't just do that. I've got bills, a family. You're messing with my life, Michael." "It wasn't just one comment," I said softly. "It was years of taking, years of disrespect. Sunday was just the cherry on the rot." "Oh my God, you're actually doing this?" he hissed. "You're abandoning your own son over one bad night." "Linda said you were dramatic." I nearly laughed. "Linda," I repeated. "The woman who calls me, what's her name at parties? The one who told me I should stop dressing like I'm trying to compete with younger women. That Linda, she's my stepmother. She's your father's wife, not your mother, and definitely not your lifeline." The line crackled. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head. He wasn't used to this version of me. The one who didn't soothe, didn't offer, didn't fold. "You've always helped," he said, grasping now. "That's what you do. That's who you are, Mom." "No," I corrected him. "That's who I was." And then I said the part one never thought I'd say. "I'm not your safety net, Michael. I'm not your ATM. I'm not your backup plan when Linda doesn't want to foot the bill." "Jesus," he muttered. "This is insane. You know how this is going to look when the house goes into foreclosure, when the kids have to move. That's not my mess to manage," I said. "It's yours. Clean it up." Then I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline. It felt like a dam had cracked wide open, and years of resentment came rushing out. Every ignored birthday, every guilt trip, every time he told me I should be grateful he still invited me anywhere. Let him panic. Let him feel the loss. By dinner, my phone rang again. Different number, but I knew that area code. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call came. Then a text. "It's Tom, we need to talk." "It's about Michael." Of course it was. I debated ignoring it, but something in me, maybe the part still curious about how far they'd go, picked up the next call. "Evelyn," he said, voice tight with artificial calm. "I just spoke with Michael. He's devastated." "What the hell is going on?" I almost smiled. There it was, the tone. Not concern, not care, control. The same one he used when I told him I wanted a divorce 20 years ago. "I stopped paying for his life," I said plainly. Tom exhaled like I was speaking another language. "You can't just drop support like that. He's your son, Evelyn. And he's 35, Tom." Silence. Then he made one mistake. I almost laughed. "Oh, we're calling that a mistake now?" I said. "You mean the years of mooching, the entitlement, or the public humiliation at my own dinner table while your new wife looked on like a proud puppet master? Don't bring Linda into this." "She's already in it, Tom," I snapped. "She's the one whispering in his ear, telling him I'm a burden, that I need to be put in my place. This family you two built around coddling his ego is not my responsibility." He tried a softer tone. "Look, we all say things we regret, but that doesn't mean you blow up your relationship with your son, Linda." And I just thought, there it was. "She's speaking for you now?" I asked. "Or do you just repeat whatever she feeds you because it's easier than thinking for yourself?" He was quiet for a moment, then sharply said, "You always loved control, Evelyn. This is just more of the same." "No," I said, voice cold. "What I loved was peace. I gave up everything to raise that boy while you were off building a new life with someone shinier. Now that it's inconvenient, you want me to keep paying for him to play. Man of the house while Linda powders his ego and you. Pretend you raised a responsible adult. Don't talk about my wife like that," he snapped. "Then tell her to stay out of my finances." He hung up first. That used to bother me. Now it felt like weight falling off my shoulders. The old Evelyn would have cried after that call, replayed it for days, blaming herself. But the woman holding the phone tonight, she smiled and poured a glass of wine. It didn't take long. Linda always preferred to come last, like the final act in a cheap soap opera. The one who shows up after all the damage is done, wearing pearls and a smirk, pretending her hands are clean. Her number flashed on my phone at 9:17 p.m. No voicemail, just a text. "You've made your point. Now step aside." I stared at it for a long moment, my thumb hovering. Then I called her. Let's see how bold she was with a live audience. "Vivable," she answered sweetly. Too sweet. Her voice always had that thin layer of frosting that made your teeth hurt. "I assume you're calling because you think I'm scared of you," I said calmly. She chuckled. "No, dear. I'm calling because you've created a mess, one that affects our family." "Your family," I repeated. "Michael lives with us now," she said. "He's vulnerable, humiliated. This crusade of yours is hurting him. It's not becoming of a mother." I nearly dropped the phone from laughing. "You don't get to define motherhood to me, Linda. You've been playing house with someone else's son for 15 years and calling it parenting. I've done more for him in those years than you ever did." There it was, the real Linda, the voice under the pearls, the spite she usually kept just out of reach. "Then, by all means," I said, "keep doing more. House him, feed him, pay the bills, comfort him when he finally realizes what being an adult actually costs." "Evelyn," she said sharply now, "you think this makes you powerful, abandoning your son? It makes you petty, pathetic. If you keep pushing this, don't be surprised if it comes back on you." "And if you threaten me again," I replied, I'll have my lawyer review the emails you've sent through Tom's business account, especially the ones where you claim I'm unwell and unstable. Silence. Oh, you didn't think I had those? I asked. I do. And if Michael wants to take this to court, we can let a judge decide who's mentally fit and who's manipulating a grown man like a marionette. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're bluffing. I'm not, and I wasn't. Good night, Linda. I hung up before she could hiss another word. I sat in the silence and smiled. She thought I'd crumble. She thought I'd beg. But Linda forgot something very important. I raised the man she's trying to control, and I know what scares him. The next morning, I walked into Laura Klein's office with a folder that weighed more than it looked. Not because of the paper, but because of what was in it. Receipts, bank statements, title documents, proof of wire transfers, canceled checks, property tax payments. Every lie they told, I had the paper trail to bury it. Laura was sharp, mid-40s, no nonsense. She wore dark-rimmed glasses and had a voice like gravel wrapped in silk. She didn't ask how I was. She opened the folder and got to work. You've been busy, she said without looking up. Linda called me last night, threatened me. Laura's lips pressed together. Let me guess. Called you unstable, said you were being dramatic, and told me I was hurting the family, I added. That earned a smirk. She really does love that line, Laura muttered. Hurt the family? Translation, stood up for yourself. She flipped through the folder faster than I expected. You're solid. Every payment was made from your account. The house and car are in your name. You've documented financial support, provided housing, paid off debts. You didn't just help him. You kept him afloat for years. She closed the folder. If they push, we'll bury them in paperwork. For a second, I felt my throat tighten. Not because I was afraid, not anymore, but because someone believed me, saw it clearly. No more gaslighting, no more second-guessing myself. Can I really evict him? I asked. You already started. The mortgage cancellation will trigger a delinquency notice within 30 days. If he can't pay, the house goes into foreclosure. But if you want to take possession before that, which I recommend, we can serve a 30-day notice to vacate immediately. And legally, I'm covered completely. I exhaled long and deep, like I'd been holding my breath for 5 years and finally let it go. Laura leaned forward. Evelyn, you've been too generous and now you're being smart. There's a difference, I nodded. Then she added, voice low and deliberate. We're not going to play dirty. We don't need to. What are we playing then? I asked. She smiled, small and sharp. Chess. Laura didn't close the folder right away. She turned one last page, then leaned back in her chair and steepled her fingers, the way people do when they know something you don't. There's one more thing, she said, her voice quiet now. I waited. She slid a smaller file across the desk. I opened it. At the top, Southview Boutique Tax Compliance noticed Linda's little vanity project. Her overpriced clothing boutique that never seemed to have customers, just wine tastings and Facebook Lives where she modeled clothes and called herself an entrepreneur. I looked up. Laura didn't blink. They owe the IRS a little over $120,000 in unpaid business taxes. That's not including penalties or interest? I blinked. She's that deep in? Laura nodded. That boutique's been bleeding money for years. She's been trying to write off personal expenses as business losses, private trips labeled as supplier visits, jewelry filed under office equipment. I don't know who her accountant is, but they're either asleep or about to lose their license. I laughed once, dry. And Michael? Oh, his name's on a few documents. He co-signed a loan she used to expand inventory, which means if the IRS audits her, Laura just raised an eyebrow. They're both on the hook. I sat back in the chair and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not spite, power, this is real, I asked, still stunned. It's real, and it's not public yet. But if Linda tries to go any further with her threats, if she files anything ridiculous like a slander claim or challenges your withdrawal of financial support, well, we may just have to notify the IRS. It would be our duty after all. Of course, I said, straightening my shoulders. Civic duty. Laura smiled. Evelyn, you don't need to throw punches. You just need to remind people that you can. I stared at the folder in front of me. For years, I'd felt like they were all above me. Michael, Tom, Linda, smarter, louder, younger, stronger. But now I had the one thing none of them expected. Proof. And if Linda came for me again, I'd show her what it really feels like to choke on your own lies. The notice went out on a Thursday. Laura had it sent by courier, official, signed, stamped, and impossible to ignore. A 30-day notice to vacate, no negotiations, no gray areas. By Saturday morning, the movers were pulling up to 214 Sycamore, my house. A few boxes were stacked outside by noon. By 3, the couch I'd bought for him, the one he told everyone was a Craigslist steal, sat crooked on the curb. Sun-faded, wine-stained, and still smelling faintly like the candles I'd tucked into care packages he never acknowledged. Neighbors started appearing like it was a yard sale. I parked half a block away. Didn't want to gloat, just wanted to witness it. A woman watering her garden across the street leaned over the fence to get a better look. 2 teenage boys zipped by on bikes and slowed just enough to stare at the big red letters plastered across the front door. Eviction, notice of termination of tenancy. There was no hiding it now, no pretending it was a remodel or a move by choice. This was a fall and I wasn't pushing him. I was just stepping out of the way. I stayed in the car, window cracked, watching as Michael came stomping out the front door carrying a cracked box of kitchenware. He looked exhausted. Linda wasn't with him. I figured she was back at her boutique trying to explain to her accountant how $700 dinners with her Pilates instructor were client meetings. He turned toward the street, eyes scanning, and for a moment they landed on me. He froze. I didn't wave. I just looked at him, calm, still present like a mother at her child's graduation. Only this ceremony was called Consequences 101. He turned away fast, muttering something to the movers, probably hoping no one had seen me, probably praying no one recognized me at all, but someone did. Let Michael tell whatever story he wants, that I blindsided him, that I was cruel, that Linda was right. But the papers said what mattered, in red ink, in bold letters. Time's up. The call came just after 11 p.m. When the phone lit up, I knew it would be him. Michael again. His voice was no anger this time. No sarcasm. Mom. He sounded like a kid again, but that kid was gone. I reminded myself of that. Linda's furious, he said. She left, said I embarrassed her, that I should have handled it before it got public. I didn't say anything. And now his voice cracked. I don't have anywhere to go. Silence. Just the hum of my bedside lamp and the ache of 1,000 bad choices catching up with him. I'm staying at a friend's place tonight, but I don't know what I'm doing, Mom. I'm spiraling, he sniffed. I could hear him wipe his face. The weight of eviction, humiliation, and abandonment, all settling on him for the first time without a cushion made of me. Please, he whispered, please don't do this. I sat up slowly, took off my glasses. Michael, I said calmly, I told you what would happen. I warned you. That was a stupid dinner. I was mad. I didn't mean it. No, I said. You meant every word. You've meant them for years. That night you just stopped pretending. I'm your son and I'm your mother, I said. Not your landlord, not your sponsor, not your doormat. He was crying now. You don't understand. I do understand, I said firmly. You're finally feeling what it's like to stand on your own, to deal with the consequences of your choices, and it hurts. I know, he didn't respond. Where you sleep tomorrow, how you pay your bills next month. That's not my cross to carry anymore. So, you're really doing this? He whispered. I paused, then said it plainly. I already did. A long, silent stretch between us, then a soft click. He hung up. I stared at the ceiling for a moment, then turned off the light. The room was still quiet, mine, and for the first time in years, I felt something wash over me. Not guilt, relief. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Michael. Didn't need to. I heard everything from the neighborhood, the bank, and eventually the news. Linda's boutique shut down overnight. Not temporarily closed or under renovation, gone, windows papered, locks changed, website blank. Turns out the IRS doesn't appreciate being lied to, especially not after 3 years of falsified business expenses and unpaid quarterly filings. Laura hadn't even needed to make a call. The agency was already circling. She just gave them a little nudge. Linda's accounts were frozen. Her merchant processing revoked. PayPal, Square, Shopify, all gone. No way to collect money. No way to move it. The best part, the letter announcing the audit arrived at their temporary apartment. Michael had to sign for it. The fallout was glorious. Her clientele, mostly women from the tennis club and ladies of leisure who thought overpriced scarves made them savvy, fled like cockroaches. One posted a scathing Facebook review that went viral. Linda Styles' boutique charged me $120 for a handbag made in Bangladesh. Turns out it was imported luxury from a flea market in Phoenix. The internet did what it does best, tore her brand limb from limb. Within a week, Linda's name was attached to a Reddit thread titled "Fake Fashion Queen Fakes Everything, Even Her Taxes." Michael, once the golden boy, now had nothing. No house, no car, no business ties, and no one to clean up the mess. The whispers started from the PTA moms who used to praise Linda's taste, from the neighbors who used to wave from their SUVs, from the men at Tom's golf club who suddenly remembered just how fast he'd moved on after our divorce. Even Tom was taking heat. His business partner's wife apparently asked during dinner, "So, does your firm do Linda's taxes too?" Poetic justice, delivered in social circles sharper than knives. And me? I did nothing. The next family gathering was Anna's doing a quiet birthday dinner for my youngest granddaughter. Just the girls, simple and warm. No stage, no tension. Until Michael walked in late, unshaven, hollow-eyed. A man who'd been chewed up by the very system he once used to hide behind. No Linda, no gifts, just a forced smile and a cheap bottle of wine. He hugged Anna stiffly, nodded toward the grandkids, and then his eyes met mine. I didn't get up, didn't open my arms, didn't make it easy. He walked over slowly like a dog who wasn't sure if he'd be kicked or fed. "Mom," he said quietly, "I was wrong." I looked at him. "Really?" Looked, not with anger, not with nostalgia, just clarity. "I know," I said. He waited for something. Forgiveness, maybe. A hug, a return to the woman who used to fix his mistakes with her savings and smile. But that woman was gone. "Apologies don't pay debts, Michael," I said calmly. "Respect does, and that starts with silence." He stood there, stunned. Anna put a hand on my shoulder. The kids leaned into my side. I was no longer the background matriarch. I was the center, the one they trusted, the one they now understood had always been holding the walls up. He sat at the far end of the table, quiet, shrinking. The woman he once called a loser now owned every piece of ground beneath his feet. And I didn't need to say another word. Later that night, I sat by the fireplace with a cup of tea. On the mantel, a photo of Michael at 10. Dirt on his face, treehouse in the background, eyes full of possibility. That boy was gone, but the woman I'd become, she wasn't going anywhere. The end. Thank you for staying through Evelyn's journey. From humiliation to power to peace.